all know that the wind blows like hell in Port Elizabeth, but when it's not blowing, it just happens to be one of the best kept secrets in South African horse racing. And with the arrival of a new sponsor for the Algoa Cup in the form and the shape of Sunshine Sweepstakes, it really has to be one of the best days racing that I have ever attended. Larry Weinstein is the Chief Executive Officer of the Racing Association and tells us more.
Andrew, I share the same sentiments as you. I think it's Port Elizabeth, it's great to go and race there. The facilities where you are hosted are really of an exceptional quality, and they put on a good spread for the people. They're very welcoming, and everybody's part of a big family. And like all families, they do have their quibbles, but it's really is exceptional to go and race there.
Your company is somewhat unique, somewhat revolutionary, and most inspiring with regard to what you've promulgated your plan to be. So we'd love to know exactly what it really is all about.
Well, we're taking the power of the blockchain. I'm sure everybody's heard of the blockchain, Bitcoin, to the latest buzz. What it is amazingly powerful technology that can transform the world. And what we've done is we've taken that and we've combined it with the thrill of winning and come up with the Sunshine Sweepstake. So it's the first global blockchain-based sweepstake where people get rewarded for doing the right thing, for positive behavior. And we're using that to drive a massive fund to fund all sorts of community-based projects. So it's kind of like a lottery taken to the next level. It's a lottery with a social purpose. It's a way for us to all work together to aggregate our purchasing power using the sweepstake to drive cash out of the system. At the end of the day, as a society, we need to get rid of cash. You might have heard in India they've enrolled 1.1 billion people with their fingerprint so that they can get rid of cash, because cash makes poor people pay more for everything. Poor people pay more for food, electricity, transport, and a large part of that comes from the fact that they're transacting in cash. And if you transact in cash today, you're excluded from e-commerce, you're excluded from the digital world. So this is part of our overall project to drive customers to the digital world and to create some excitement about doing it. So every time they use a card, every time they use their phone to pay, they get an entry into the sweepstake and maybe win $1 million. So it's really there to incentivize positive behavior. And Pumalela and the whole horse racing and gaming world is an example of our community approach to rolling things out.
From a horse care perspective, there are a lot of people there that seriously lead from the front. The shams are the people that come to mind immediately, but there are a lot of people that are not shy to put their hands in their pockets and make an effort, whether it's a jockey, whether it's a trainer. And Mr. Knowles has also climbed behind this initiative to a large extent, and I think there was quite a bit of fun had on Saturday night in Jeffreys Bay.
Yeah, Andrew, we do normally hold an auction on a Friday night the last couple of years, and it's to help fund the Eastern Cape Horse Care Unit. The position that they're in there is they take care of not just thoroughbreds. They go into the rural areas and they look and train and teach and fix up horses in the rural areas. Traditional racing, they train people how to fix wounds up, how to look after their horses. And they are underfunded, whether we like it or not. But it's not just thoroughbreds. So we also don't have all this money, but we try as best we can to support them and make sure that they get the money they need to go and do these initiatives, which, they are proud of, and we're proud that we helped to assist them over the last 10 years. It's been happening from our side as the RA, and that's what that weekend's about, basically.
I've been to Megan Hope's unit, and I've seen donkeys, and I've seen mules, and I've seen horses that have definitely not been on a race course. So it is an onerous task, because there are lots of people that still use carts in Port Elizabeth as they do on the Cape Flats.
There's no doubt, Andrew, and the terrain is actually enormous. They have the biggest areas to cover, so that's a challenge on its own.
Well, it might be a little bit of a hot potato, but I was there on the day of the Jockeys International when there was a bush race, inverted commas, or traditional racing as they call it. It was very, very well organized, and the horses looked really, really well. What has become of that initiative?
Andrew, that initiative has actually gone a step further. We had all the associations, the chairman of the associations there on Sunday. And they travelled up from Berlin, they travelled up from all the outlying areas. And we're busy with an initiative to bring their people to the racecourse and to see what happens on our racecourses with thoroughbreds, which they were doing on a regular basis. They'd have one race. But the challenge is to bring the people there. You'd want the two sports to integrate and expose them to thoroughbred racing, and with that they can bring crowds. They get far bigger crowds than we do, Andrew. With some of their meetings, they get 15 to 20,000 people because it's a community thing and it's a tribal thing and the chiefs involved. And so it is an amazing experience.
On the subject of bringing people to the racecourse, we've tried various different methods, but there's nothing quite like word of mouth. And it is alleged that there were some visitors from Switzerland, a mother and her two daughters, and other people for that matter, that were in earshot of this festivity that took place at the Greek restaurant on Saturday night.
The owner, George, who is an RA member and he is a racing man, he owns horses. We went to his place in Jeffreys Bay, which was fantastic. And that's where we hosted the event, where, you know, we had a meal and we then did some auctions, we did some presentations, and we raised money and broke the Greek plates, and very festive, and everyone had a good time. And in the restaurant was 3 visitors to South Africa. They were going up to the game park, and the guys were sitting at a table and sort of got chatting to them, and this mother and her 2 daughters from Switzerland were there, and Nathan, our esteemed new employee of Pumalele, who looks after the retail outlets, he got talking to them and started telling them about racing, and then said to them, well, why don't you come along on Saturday and we'll host you there? And everyone thought, yeah, well, okay, that's them. Yeah. And they phoned up Saturday and said, does the offer still stand? Yeah. And lo and behold, they arrived and all dressed up and looking smart and like for a race meeting, and they came to the race meeting and thoroughly enjoyed it. But that will be spoken about when they go back. And it's always a good thing when people talk well about South Africa, even if it's about racing, even if they don't go back to racing, but it's actually promoting South Africa and the actual hospitality of South Africa.
And then, of course, Nebula comes back and records a double. Those 2 races can put their hands up with any race in South Africa.
The actual standard of the fields that run was always something that people want to come to. The Algoa Cup is won, as you say, by some top horses. Nebula, if you look, he ran 3 lengths to Whiskey Baron, eh? And if you go back early on in the year before the July last year, he was touted to be Brett's July horse.
Nebula's coming out of the pack with Ollivander, Platinum Prince, but it's Nebula in the lead. He's got 1 length over Ollivander. Then comes Master Czar. It's Nebula, and he's going to go back to back. Nebula wins the Algoa Cup by 2. Ollivander's second.
So, I mean, there's a good standard, and it's a great race. Port Elizabeth are deserving of these horses to come and race, yeah? And long gone is the stigma that only retiring horses come to Port Elizabeth. You got 2-year-olds stepping out in their career that come to Cape Town and come to Joburg, and they're able to compete. I think we've got some visitors here on Saturday from Port Elizabeth.
Folk dancers just digging down. Silver Thursday's running on, and Via Seattle's coming in and get them all on the inside. Via Seattle, Folk Dance second, Silver Thursday, and Witch of the West involved for minor position.